Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, girl.
Welcome to Lift Free Online, where we go over our drills and skills of Olympic weightlifting. Everything that you're going to need today, if you have an empty bar, that would be perfect. If you have a PVC pipe or a broomstick, that will work as well. Anytime we're doing any of these exercises unweighted, really focus and pay attention on your positioning and your technique. The more you can slow yourself down, the more you can fine-tune your technique, and the better you will look once you get back to the weight that you are typically used to lifting. A lot of us struggle when we have to be forced outside of the gym, whether that's due to injury, whether that's due to everything that's going on right now. What I need you guys to know is that just because you were good at something before and you have to take time away from it, does not mean you will be bad at it when you get back. This is the amount of time where we all have to take a step back from our general training and focus on how we can get better, how we can improve, and where our weaknesses are. And if we don't know, that's something that's completely separate, because now is the opportunity to force yourself to do different drills, force yourself into different positions that you're not technically or typically used to getting yourself into, and figure out what those weaknesses are, because we all have them. Nobody is a perfect lifter, and now is the time to get yourself closer to perfect. We're gonna start today's training with clean grip muscle snatches. Anytime that we're doing a closer grip snatch, the main focus becomes on pulling all the way through the lift. Now that we're doing clean grip muscle snatches, now you have to continually pull even higher than what we would in a typical muscle snatch. So even though that weight starts from the floor and we are thinking that weight goes up and overhead in one fluid movement, I need you guys to think that we are going to pull as high as our elbows can get, and then keep that bar as close to the nose as possible by swinging the elbows underneath as quickly as you can. So what this is going to look like, and remember, this is just a primer for our snatch work, which is going to come up directly after this. So we have 5 sets of 3 of these. What this is going to look like: hands are on the bar, I'm in my clean grip position, the bar will start a little bit closer, my hips will start a little bit higher than in the snatch, just because my hands are closer together. I am starting from the floor, chest is up. I'm gonna do this nice, slow, steady motion. Chest stays strong, elbows are pointed out. I'm gonna stand. Bar stays nice and close to the body. Knees start to come forward. I'm gonna extend, pull, get my elbows underneath, and continue to press, okay? So there should be no stopping of the bar. The bar should continually have upward movement or upward trajectory on the bar because of the power you're putting into it from your legs. So I'm gonna do 3 quick reps just so you can get a good idea of what this looks like. I'll do 2 from the side and 1 from the front. If you want to add weight, but really do so incrementally. So don't throw on 20s right away. Get yourself comfortable with this drill, because we are going to use it for our snatch work directly after this. I'll do a couple sets just to give you guys a good idea of what it looks like with weight as well. we get rolling into our actual snatch work today, we're gonna do no move feet power snatches, or no feet power snatches, no jump power snatches, whatever you call them. It basically has the same premise behind it. So when we don't have the ability to move our feet, our speed decreases, right? There's no point of the lift where you're putting power from your legs into the bar to create a moment of almost like float on the bar, or like a standstill part of the bar. So when we take our feet off of the platform that we're putting force into and our feet lift, as they're moving out, that bar is gonna get the force that your legs are putting into it. So a bar is gonna come up, it's gonna hover for a second, and then it's gonna come right back down. When we don't move our feet, what we have to now focus on is actually pulling ourselves under the bar and being quick to that finish position. If you have a problem with the bar crashing on you in snatches, elbow press out in snatches, if you have a problem where you bring the bar up and just dive underneath it, you get kind of like stuck in the bottom, this drill is really going to benefit you. I had a problem where I was putting force into the bar and pulling myself back. So my body was going behind the bar. Even though I was bringing the bar upright, it was throwing off my lift. So once it got heavy, I would always fail forward because my body was going backwards. I didn't understand how to pull myself underneath the weight and stay connected with the weight. As soon as I fixed that, and as soon as I addressed that weakness, my lifts got so much better. They got so much crisper, or more crisp. Don't know what, more crisp? That sounds better. Let's go with that one. They got much more crisp, and I was missing a lot less lifts. So what I want you guys to focus on is pulling yourself underneath the bar. So you'll still reach full extension, you'll still get underneath. I'll show you what I want these to look like with just the PVC pipe first. Weight's gonna start from the ground, which we've done the last couple weeks. Chest is up, slow, steady from the floor, picking up speed once that bar gets past the knees, bringing your knees forward, extending straight up, elbows come up. Now I'm going to keep pulling on the bar and bring myself down into that catch position. Okay, so right as I get underneath it, I know exactly where I want the bar. I'm putting the bar in that place. If you guys do not know where the bar is and you're just letting the bar go wherever it wants, it's gonna keep drifting on you. Make sure you are pulling it and placing it exactly where you want it. So again, feet start a little wider, chest up, coming up, standing up. Everything should stop when you come from that extension into snapping your heels down. When your heels hit the ground, you should have that bar locked out and overhead in the same time. What I want you guys to feel is extending through your ankle. Even though your foot isn't allowed to move, I still want the ankle to extend all the way. I'll show you a couple reps with just the empty bar. We have 6 sets of 2 reps of these. Take your time with them if you are new to them. It is a rather challenging lift, so start light, perfect it, then add weight. Our third exercise of the day is a cluster followed by a split jerk. So we are doing a full clean, going directly into a drive of a thruster. So a thruster is typically the bar starts on your shoulders, you squat with it and you press it overhead. A cluster is gonna start from the floor, full clean, right up and overhead. This exercise is really gonna help those who struggle standing up out of a clean. So those who like to, or I shouldn't say like to because nobody likes to, those that get kind of pile drived into the bottom of their clean and they end up stuck at a standstill and have to use one of those like 1, 2, 3 bounces to get out of the clean. This will help you stay connected with the bar enough so that you're going to be able to catch the bar higher than the bottom of your squat, secure it in your rack position, stay nice and tight in the catch, and then that position is going to push you into the bottom, which will help you rebound out of the bottom of the squat. If you are strong and connected with the barbell, our hips and our hamstrings basically act as a rubber band. So we end up getting all nice and tight and strong. Everything gets locked out. We ride that into the bottom of the squat, and then we stand right back up. If we are thinking of standing up with speed, it's gonna make that jerk significantly easier. Okay, so we're gonna complete one cluster. After it's up overhead, we're gonna bring it down to the front rack position and then go right into a split jerk, not a split clean. All right, so this is what it's going to look like. Bar starts on the floor, full clean, stand up nice and fast, go up and overhead. Bar comes back down, feet come together, split jerk. That's 1 rep. We have 8 sets of 2 of these. So you have 2 clusters plus a split jerk, cluster, split jerk. That'd be 1 set. All right, I'll do a couple of these with the weighted bar back behind me, give you an idea of what they should look like, and then I want you guys to finish all 8 sets. We're gonna finish today's training with some back squats. I know we haven't squatted yet in this kind of cycle of lift-free work, but the squat is imperative to any Olympic weightlifter's success. If you think about the bottom of the snatch and the bottom of the clean, you have to be able to stand the weight up in order for the rep to count. So we have to make sure that our leg strength is much greater than our ability to snatch and our ability to clean. So you will be seeing a lot of squats in any Olympic weightlifting program that you follow, just because of that nature. Understanding how the squat works and the biomechanics of the squat and what it technically should look like, regardless of your anatomy, is super, super important. If you start to realize shifts or overcompensations in your squat patterns, you need to fix that immediately before you continue on into your training. If you continue training with poor squat mechanics, just like I said, the amount of times that we squat, you're going to keep adding poor mechanics and then keep adding load on top of poor mechanics, and that's when injuries start to develop. Main things that you're looking for: a shift in the hips. So here's main things that you need to look for when it comes to squatting is start with the arches. Start by looking at the feet. Are your feet turning out while you squat? So that would look like me having the barbell on my back, me squatting, and then either one or both of my feet turning out. What that typically tells me is you have a hard time rotating your tibia within that foot. So we need to work on the ability to keep the thigh straight and be able to rotate at the tibia, not just at the hip or the ankle. Because if the hip and the ankle are rotating and the knee doesn't rotate, you're going to get knee pain, right? So again, if you start to see those feet kind of turn on either one side or both, or you hit the bottom of your squat and one of your feet lifts up and moves over, that's something else to pay attention to, just to make sure that that leg is articulating as much as it should. Next thing, arch collapsing. So as we squat, the arch is collapsing in, all the pressure gets put on the inside of the foot and the outside of the foot reaches up. So if I come down here, that arch comes up. Weightlifting shoes technically don't have super great arch support. So if you do have somebody that has weak arches, you need to work on your foot control. Throw a towel on the ground, go barefoot, scrunch your toes up until that towel comes all the way into your body. Spread it out again, scrunch your toes up, spread it out again. Make sure that that arch is strong enough to support the load that you have on your back or your front. Next thing, knees coming in and out. I see this a lot as people come down to their squat. They hit the bottom of the squat, the knees kind of dip in and then they stand out. If it's a very faint dip in and out and no movement happens in the foot, usually what that is the hamstrings pulling someone down, the quads turning on to stand someone up, and there's a very small part of the lift where it's going from the back of the muscles to the front of the muscles. Things that we can do to help that, clusters really help with that to minimize that gap. If it is pulling you in and we're coming down and the knees are collapsing in, working on the internal rotation of your hip, training in this capacity, and then also working all the way externally, training this capacity of the hips. So now we're strong as the hip is in and strong as the hip is out, to work those two ends of your range of motion, not just the middle portion of the range of motion. Chest collapsing, that's usually going to be a low back issue where the low back isn't strong enough to keep the chest up, but it also really could be the length of your torso, could be a short torso and long legs, which is just going to put you in that position, which is usually not ideal for weightlifting. But if you do have that anatomy, you're just going to have a much stronger back than typical. For most weightlifters, we know that we need ankle dorsiflexion as well to hit the bottom of the squat. So if we are coming down and there's no shift in the shin, we just hit this position and then stand up, that's also going to be a chest collapsing thing. If you look at the ankle and the ankle is not moving forward, you know that this is going to be the dorsiflexion of this ankle. So if you are a coach or if you're an athlete that really wants to take care of your body, not only should we work to open up some range of motion this way, but you also need to tilt your ankle in, work on the capacity of the ankle to be able to open up that way, so inversion, and then also rotating the ankle out and working the eversion portion of the ankle as well. Pushing into this side, working so both the bones that come down onto the talus, so your tibia and your fibula, have room to spread as that ankle moves forward into dorsiflexion. If they don't have room to spread or if they aren't able to open up, you're gonna have a terrible time trying to hit dorsiflexion. So those are a handful, probably too many than you guys can count, issues that could be happening in the squat. But again, it's super important to pay attention to these things, because if you see them, you need to address them immediately so it doesn't kind of prolong into your lifts or go on into your lifts. For our back squats, what we're looking at, trying to keep our elbows back at a 45-degree angle. So we don't want them too low, we don't want them too high, should be back at a 45. I like to tell people to keep these knuckles, so not like the top part of your knuckles, the backmost knuckles, pointed up towards the ceiling. They can be slightly back, but I don't want them pointed back behind you. So somewhere in between the two, full grip on the bar, grasping that bar as hard as you can. So squeezing that bar, squeezing your elbows back and together. If the elbows stay active and they're squeezing back this way, together and back, it's gonna help keep your chest upright, and it's also gonna help keep your back nice and tight. As we go down, I want the middle of the bar to be even with the middle of my thigh. So I'm gonna sit my hips down right in between my ankles. Weight is gonna be right in the inside of my thigh and on my back, so it's making a straight line from the bar to my thigh to the middle of my foot. I'm driving my feet in the ground and acting as if I'm picking my chest up to be the first thing out of my squat. Up. I'll do a couple reps with this just to the side. I know you won't be able to see my face. You probably won't be able to see my elbows, but then I'll move to the front so you guys can see what that looks like. Feet should be about hip distance apart. You may need a 45-degree angle turnout of your foot, just depending on your biomechanic structure. As you go down into these squat guys, super important to keep your speed slow on the way down, fast on the way up. You all have 6 sets of 8 of those. Pay attention to your foot, pay attention to your knee and your hips. Have a good time with this. I'll see you next week.